Hey guys, hopefully everyone is doing well. Today's target is to solve question number 14. The chapter which we are related with is company's financial statement. So we have a problem, we have a question, and we need to solve it according to international accounting standards. Here we do have two different columns. You can see that, and beside these two columns, total of both columns available. What does that mean? It's a trial balance. We are in little comfortable situation where debit and credit side is available. All assets and expenses are present on debit side. All incomes and liabilities are present on credit side. So they are well segregated and differentiated from each other. Assets and expenses, incomes and liabilities. The next, from the start of this paragraph, from here to here, these are few adjustments. They were supposed to be present in trial balance. Amount of these should be present, were supposed to be present in trial balance, but due to any reason they were not adjusted, and right now we will adjust them. And whatever is present in between this paragraph, if it is not present truly in trial balance, that would have two effects. It is called double effect of trial balance. Next, you can see that it's our pro forma where three parts are present on left side. One, two, and this three. First part would be used to calculate gross profit, second part would be used for net profit, and third part is used for appropriation balance. This appropriation balance will finally be transferred to this fixed liability side. It would have fixed and current liabilities reserve. Sum of these three would be the total of liability side, and it would also be total of balance sheet. Then we will come to our asset side where fixed and current assets plus reserve plus investments. Here you have your investment. Look at here, blue part, and last element is investment. So sum of fixed current assets and investments. These three, sum of these three would be considered total of asset side, and it would also be total of balance sheet. And luckily we have gross profit, net profit, appropriation, balance sheet. All answers are available. There are five parts downward and four answers are available. Why? Because asset would always be equal to liabilities. So balance sheet answer is given over here. Answer of asset would be 11 lakh, and answer of liability would also be 11 lakh. And remaining three parts on left side answers are available. This was your brief introduction about the question. I'm sure you people have made your mind what is our target today, what we are going to do in this lecture. So we are ready to start. Let's begin. And as it was said that if adjustments are present in the question, we will solve them as our first step. We will not be going to start our question from here. Apparently, your question, your problem is starting from here. But what you will do, you will go to adjustment side. And here you will start your question. So let's begin. Closing stock. As you know, closing stock is part of cost of goods sold statement. So opening stock, add purchases, less returns and less closing stock, and we are talking about this closing stock. Amount of which is 58,000. Just put 58,000 in direct expense side, and now you will go to current asset side where you will also put 58,000. So two effects, one in direct side and second in current asset side. Adjustment is completed. There was no further liability for income tax except 93 provision of 50,000 should be made. So it is purely an appropriate expense. So you will come over here, provision for income tax, amount of which was mentioned 50,000. First effect is completed. You will now go to current liability side, and there you will mention 50,000 in current liability side. Both effects completed, as you have seen, one in appropriation expense side, secondly in liability side. It means our adjustment related to this 50,000 completed. Depreciation 2% on land and building. So let's come to fixed asset side, and we will mention land and building over here. Let's see how much amount of land and building is. We'll have to search it out. So where land and building is, yes, we have got land and building, amount of which is 3 lakh. So here, as a first step, you will put actual amount or original amount of asset, and next step is to calculate depreciation. 2% on land and building. So here depreciation will be calculated, amount is 3 lakh, and it is set to calculate 2%. So you will take 2%. Once again, what is 3 lakh? It is actually the amount of asset multiplied by 2 divided by 100. So we have got its depreciation. Now you will go to operating expense side. There you will mention depreciation. Depreciation of land, and I think we will not be able to write complete, so write down just depreciation of land and buildings. 6,000 we have calculated, put amount in operating expenses. So guys, you have seen that 2% land on building depreciation is completed. Now 10% on plant. Let's go to fixed asset side, plant and machine. See how much amount. This is your plant and machinery for 50,000. Put 450,000 over here, and next part is to charge depreciation. 4,50,000 is amount, and we will take 10%. From where this 10% came? Land 10% on plant and machinery. Alright, 450,000 was value of asset, and then you have taken 10%. So amount of depreciation arrived. Now let's go to operating expense side, and here depreciation of plant and machine would be mentioned, and I think 45,000. Let's see. Yes, 45,000 would be the depreciation. So guys, in this way you have seen that two effects of depreciations completed. I am calling depreciations because first depreciation land and building, second plant, and these two depreciations are also mentioned in operating expense side. So as you have seen that value of plant and machinery and land and building, 3 lakh was value and 2% depreciation completed. Now next is write off 5,000 from preliminary expenses. Again we will go to operating expenses, and here preliminary expenses would be mentioned, and you will say exactly over here directly, write off. So we are asked to write off 5,000 from preliminary expenses. So here 5,000 would be written, and next we will go to current asset side. We will also mention preliminary expenses, and we will seek amount later on. Out of total preliminary expenses, this written off would be subtracted. So here write off or written off would be subtracted. The concept behind it is preliminary expenses are actually assets because they are of nature of prepaid or unexpired. So they were supposed to be written over here, but out of total preliminary expenses, some were written off. So expenses which are written off would be mentioned in operating expense, and remaining amount would be the part of current asset side. In this way, guys, this adjustment related to preliminary expenses completed. Now next is director recommended 20 25,000 to general reserve. Appropriation nature. So here provision for, I think general reserve was, we'll have to confirm it again. Let's see. Yes, it was general reserve. Amount is 25,000. Put 25,000 in appropriation debit side, and now in current liability, provision for general reserve 25,000 would also be mentioned over here. So two effects we have seen, one on appropriation debit side, one in current liability side. The next final dividend of 5%, again appropriation nature. So here you will mention dividend and we will calculate dividend. First we will see how much amount of capital. That look at here, equity share capital 5 lakh, and the ratio which is given is 5%. So 5 lakh would be the amount, and you will take 5% as dividend. Once again, what was 5 lakh? It was amount of capital, and we were asked to take 5% for dividend. It is calculated again. Let's go to current liability side, and here you will mention this dividend amount of which is 25,000. Alright guys, so dividend is also completed. Now we will see what is next. 10,000 have been added in sinking fund. Again appropriation nature, and we will say transfer to sinking fund reserve, amount of which is mentioned 10,000. Alright guys, so first effect is completed, and now we will see what next. Transfer to sinking fund reserve. 10,000 would also be entered in current liability side. Two effects completed. In this way, all adjustments present over here in paragraph with all their two or double effects completed, we can now focus upon elements present in trial balance. So first is stock, and since it is written 1st January, our last date is December, so it's opening stock, and the place for opening stock is already reserved, amount of which is 60,000. So let's put 60,000 indirect expense side. After that we have purchases. The place of purchase, look at here, is also reserved. Amount of purchases 320,000. Put 320 in direct expenses. Then we have wages. It is part of direct side. So here we will post wages. Amount of which is 90,000. In direct expense side 90,000 has been posted. Then electric power. So power is basically direct expense. We can write electric power over here, amount of which is 15,000. Let's put it in direct expense side. Then we have manufacturing expenses. Again, direct nature. Alright guys, so manufacturing expenses are 35,000. In direct expense side. Then we have carriage inward. Again, direct. There are so many direct expenses in this question. And okay, after manufacturing we were having carriage out and then inward. Now full amount is 10,000. Put over here. And you can see that we were also having carriage out. So it is part of indirect side. Carriage out. Let's put the amount and that is 20,000. In operating expense side, carriage out, operating expense, carriage in, direct expense. Then we have salaries. Just write down the amount. Let's see how much amount of salary is 60,000. We will write it in operating expense side. Then we have insurance. Again, indirect side. Insurance. Let's see how much amount of insurance is. I think 10,000. Put 10,000 in operating expense side. Then we have debtors, part of current asset. Debtors, amount of debtors 90,000. In current asset side we are writing this amount of 90,000 of debtors. Bank balance, part of current asset. Amount of bank balance 6,000. Write down in current asset side. After debtors, bank balance, we have sinking fund investments. So 90,000 is your part of investment, place is already fixed, 90,000. But interestingly, we have a percentage beside 4%. And over here, interest on government securities is also present. So let's deal it accordingly. We'll go to other income side, and here interest on government securities. Mentioned. Okay, now total amount of security is 1 lakh and 4% is required to be calculated. So here please note it down. Okay, instead of here, because we don't have the place, we will go over here in current asset side, but here again there will be a problem. We will not be able to write everything. So let's calculate over here. 1 lakh was total amount and 4% was interest on government securities. Let's get back. Look at here, sinking fund investment, 1 lakh was total investment, 4% was rate of interest. Let's go to other side. We do have 2000 interest on government securities already received. So what you will do, 2000 would be mentioned over here. Note it down carefully. Total interest receivable was 4000. We only have received 2000. What does that mean? Difference of these two amounts would be considered still receivable. So add outstanding interest 2000, and this interest I was mentioning would also be transferred to current asset side. So I'm sure that you people understood. Once again I'm telling you that total amount of securities 1 lakh, 4% was 4000 interest receivable, 2000 was already received. So it means 2000 is still receivable, you have mentioned in current asset side. Here you can see, and the remaining part was sold over here. 4000 total interest received, 2000 actually received, and remaining is still receivable. So one thing we have done is directly jumped to this side. You may skip, it was possibly be skipped, but right now we have completed it. Alright, now come over here, debenture interest. Again we'll have to make a jump because debenture interest is having two lines. Add outstanding interest. Over here we will mention debenture interest. Now please note it down very carefully that total interest would be calculated over here. For this, let's get back to debentures mentioned over here. Look, total amount of debenture 2 lakh, rate is 6%. So here what you are doing, 2 lakh and multiply with 6 divided by 100. You can note it down that 2 lakh was the total amount of debentures and you have taken 6%. Outer column has been used. And here we will see how much amount is present in trial balance, 6000. So over here just write down 6000 debenture interest, and difference of these two amounts would be considered outstanding, just like interest on government securities. Percentage outside, trial balance inner first column, difference in second inner column. Again we have done the same, percentage outside, trial balance amount inner first column, difference of these two amount inner second column, and this would be considered as outstanding. Now come to fixed liability side. Here you will mention debentures and then add outstanding interest, and this second column amount would be posted over here. As we have seen that total amount of debenture, look, was 2 lakh. So 2 lakh would be mentioned in fixed liability side. Guys, you have seen that we were completing debenture interest, but at the same time we have written debentures as well. Next is land and building 3 lakh, and look at here, land and building 3 lakh is already written. After that, plant and machinery 450,000, and look, plant and machinery 450,000 is also written. Then we have director fee, indirect expenses, director fee would be mentioned. Amount of director fee is 10,000. In operating expenses we will mention this amount. Then we have audit fee, again indirect side, audit fee. Let's see how much amount of audit fee, that is 6,000. and you will mention it in operating expense side. Then we have income tax paid. This is very interesting and you are required to be attentive. Income tax paid, but I have just seen provision for income tax. These are interrelated. Simple, you had made a provision of 45,000 to pay the tax, but actual amount of tax is only 41,000. So what does that mean? This is absolutely new for you. You will come over here in appropriation side. Here you will mention excess in provision. This was mentioned at start of this chapter. Once again, 45,000 was the provision which is made, but only 41,000 was used. A very simple sense can be used. 45,000 you have saved to pay income tax, while liability of income tax was only 41,000. It means out of 45,000, only 41,000 were used. Remaining 4,000 would be considered as your excess income, but it is a kind of appropriation nature. That is why you are mentioning it in income side of appropriation. Once again, I am letting you know that total 45,000 was amount of provision, 41,000 used, only 4,000 left, and that is your excess in provision. Now we have calculated income tax, and this provision is also provision for income tax 45,000 also solved. After income tax we have interim dividend. Let's go to appropriation side, and here you will mention interim dividend. Amount of this interim dividend is 36,000. So just mention 36,000 in appropriation debit side. After that we have preliminary expenses 20,000. Look at here, preliminary expenses are already mentioned over here. So you will go to asset side. Here preliminary expenses are already written. So you will come over here. Now mention how much total amount of preliminary expenses. 20,000 is mentioned. So here you will write 20,000. And look, written off were 5,000. So you will subtract 5,000 out of it. Total preliminary expenses 20,000, 5,000 were written off, remaining 15,000 would still be considered as your asset. Then we have goodwill. Let's go to fixed asset side, and here we will mention goodwill. Amount of goodwill is 140,000. So in fixed asset side you will mention goodwill. So in this way, all elements present on debit side or left side, they are completed one by one. We have taken and carefully posted to the relevant places in financial statement. Next, right side, credit side, sundry creditors. So you will go to current liability side, and here you will mention sundry creditors, amount of which is 45,000. Here in current liability side, you will mention creditors. Then provision is already solved 45,000, and we have adjusted 45,000 provision for income tax in appropriation side. Then we have profit loss account. This is part of appropriation. We have left one line, profit and loss account over here, and amount of profit loss account mentioned over here is 38,000. So put 38,000 over here. After profit loss, we have general reserve. We will come to liability side. First, we will mention general reserve, and amount of general reserve is 1 lakh. Put in liability side 1 lakh. Then we have capital, and this is issued, paid up, and subscribed capital. So come over here, issued, paid up, or subscribed capital. Please note it down. The capital which would be present in trial balance, that would be final capital, final amount of capital. This is 5 lakh. So just put 5 lakh in fixed liability side. After capital, we have 6% debenture, 2 lakh, I think already mentioned. Yes, 2 lakh worth of debentures are written over here. Then we have salaries and wages, and these are unpaid. Unpaid means outstanding. Outstanding was supposed to be present in adjustment. It is over here in trial balance. There will only be one effect. We will go to liability side, and here you will mention salaries and wages. Due to this word unpaid, we have made it outstanding. Amount is 25,000. Write down in current liability side, salaries, wages, outstanding. Then we have sales. Come to direct income side. Here we will mention sales, amount of which is 7,70,000. Sale written in direct income side. Interest received, it is also pre-calculated. Here interest on government securities already mentioned 2,000. And last, sinking fund, this is your reserve. Here sinking fund would be mentioned. Amount of this sinking fund is 90,000. We will write it in liability side, and part of liability is reserve. 90,000 is mentioned. In this way, guys, this was the last amount present on credit side. All elements present in trial balance posted to financial statement. All adjustments are having dual effect, which means we are now open to start our calculation of 5 parts of financial statement. First, we will go to direct side, sales recorded. Now we will see cost of goods sold statement, for which opening stock plus purchases less closing stock. First part of cost of goods sold is recorded. Now you will see how much amount of direct expenses that has also recorded. And now we can take sum of both cost of goods sold and direct expenses. Final amount of cost of goods sold we have got. Now for gross profit, you will take sales less total cost of goods sold statement, and what we have got is, this would be considered as our gross profit. Please note it down. Sale less cost of goods sold is gross profit, 298. So we had said answer of this gross profit was already available. Let's check it out. So here you can see GP gross profit 298,000, and we have also 298,000. It means first part on left side, profit loss statement, gross profit is calculated. Now we'll go to indirect side. Here there is no adjustment present. Everything is present on second column. While this was needed to be added, already added. So let's take sum of all operating expenses. Done. Operating income 0, operating expense 0, and we have only one other income side. So let's calculate net profit. For this we will go to direct side, GP, gross profit, less operating expense, add operating income, less other expenses, add this operating income, other income. So finally, with the calculation of these four factors, when they are related to gross profit, we will get our net profit. What we have done, gross profit less operating, add operating income, less other expense, add other income, we have got 128. This is your net profit. Answer is available. Let's check it out. So what we have got, net profit is 128,000, and answer we have calculated is also 128,000. It means our two parts solved. Now let's start our calculation related to appropriation. First, you may take sum of all incomes. There are three: profit loss account, excess in provision, and net profit, and we are unable to take sum. So simply we will manually take sum. 128,000 plus 4,000 and plus 38,000, which is profit loss account. Please note it down. We have added these three income: net profit, profit loss account, and excess in provision. And after that, you will subtract all capital natured expenses, that means appropriation expenses, and finally sum of all appropriation expenses. Alright guys, what we have done, added these three items. These are your income, and amounts present over here, these were your expenses. So simply you have subtracted all these expenses from these three income. Finally we have got 24,000. This is your appropriation balance. Answer is available. Let's check it out. Alright guys, you have seen that appropriation 24,000 and answer is also 24,000. It means our left side is completed. All three answers are matched with the book as well. Let's go to liability side, and here we will mention appropriation balance, which we have just calculated, amount of which was 24,000. So let's put 24,000 over here. Now we can start our calculation regarding fixed liability side, capital plus net profit. This authorized capital place is vacant. Let's check it out. Why authorized capital was not here? Not mentioned over here, not mentioned, and downward side not mentioned at all. That is why this authorized capital is still vacant, but that would not make any difference because authorized capital is just a nominal capital. Next, debentures plus outstanding. All fixed liabilities are completed. We will now be taking sum of these two different fixed liabilities to get total, grand total of fixed liabilities completed. After that, no adjustment is present in first column. It means we can directly take sum of all current liabilities. Done. After that, we have two reserves. So let's take their sum as well. So it means total of current liability, reserve, and fixed liability is completed. Here look, this was total of fixed liability, total of current liability, total of reserve. So sum of these three would be equal to grand total of liability side, and that is 11 lakh. This is also total of balance sheet. Let's check it out. So answer of balance sheet available over here is 11 lakh, and our answer is also 11 lakh. So that means 4 out of 5 parts solved. We can now focus upon asset side. Here few adjustments are present. Let's calculate amount of plant less its depreciation. Then we have land and building. So land and building and plant, we have subtracted their depreciation. Goodwill was supposed to be present over here 140,000. Alright guys, all fixed assets now finalized. We can take sum of all fixed asset. This is total of fixed asset. Now let's see if any adjustment related to current asset is present. Preliminary expenses, let's written off. So guys, in this way we are now taking sum of current assets. Done. Now let's see investment. There is only one amount. So let's put it over here. It means all three totals are ready. This was total of fixed asset, total of current asset, total of investment, and grand total is 11 lakh. And we have seen balance sheet total is also 11 lakh. It means total of asset, total of liability is also equal. In this way, guys, all 5 answers are not only calculated but matched. Here you can see 298,000 was your gross profit. 298 is written over here. Net profit was 128, and you have seen 128 net profit is over here. Appropriation 24,000. Look at here, 24,000. 3 answers matched. Liability side total 11 lakh. Asset side total 11 lakh. That means our answers are matched. Question is 100% completed, and you have a complete solution step by step. You were not asked to solve it by yourself. So you can have each and every step solved in this lecture. Although solution is available, but still I can comment very openly that viewing is not enough. You are requested to please practice this question by yourself. After practicing 3-4 times, if you still feel anything difficult, you are very open to share your problem through messages, text or comments, or you can directly meet as well to share your problem. I will humbly be trying my best to answer your question quickly. So thank you very much for your time. It's time to end our lecture and it's time to say goodbye. Allah Hafiz.